Like a dollar margarita. Where have you had a $1 margarita before? Let me know. Okay, so I've talked about the different things you could do in Tulum. You could swim in the cenotes, you could go to the beach, you could party on the beach side, you could eat some street food in the center, you could visit some archaeological sites, you can even drive a little bit further out where you could go to Coba, and you could go to Punta Laguna where you could go canoeing, where you could go zip lining, and also they have some ATVs as well. So there are some tour companies in the center that will take you to these different spots should you not want to plan it yourself and do it yourself. So they have those like daily tour packages that you could go to. You could use them. They will charge you accordingly for those, and they might run you between $80 to $200 per person, depending on the activity, depending on how long the day is going to be and all that. Usually those include transportation, they include some form of a lunch during the day, and then also transportation from your place to there and then back, and then sometimes they include a guide and all of that depending on which one. I will insert the link as well of a tour company, local tour company that does these things, that can take you to these places as well should you be interested. So all of that is going to be in the description bar below. And also you could do a temazcal. Alright, I have a whole separate video I'm gonna be doing on my temazcal experience. However, let me just say, it's not a partying experience, it's a cultural experience, but it's a cultural and it's a healing experience. It's not a comfortable experience, but you'll learn a lot about the culture and you learn a lot about yourself. So I have a whole video about that, but that is definitely something that's interesting that I would highly recommend for you to do should you be able to withstand and resist it. It's intense. It's not for everybody, and I'm gonna say that it's not gonna be for everybody, and not everyone is going to like it. It's not supposed to be a quote-unquote likable experience, but it is supposed to be a healing experience using an ancient and traditional Mayan ceremony, which is the temazcal. So you could do the temazcal if you're there for healing. This is not traditionally Mexican, but they also have ayahuasca ceremonies as well if you are into that sort of things. Tulum has a bike culture where you can basically use actual bike, not motorbike, like actual bicycles where you could ride everywhere. So be careful with your bike. If you're renting bikes, they steal them like it's nothing. So if you're gonna rent a bike, be very careful of how you lock it, where you lock it, and things like that, because people were getting their bikes stolen when I was there like it was nobody's business. And once your bike gets stolen, you have to pay like 100 to 150 USD to the owner because it got stolen. So it was really getting out of hand. So now let's quickly talk about how much money can you spend on average in Tulum. Is Tulum cheap or is Tulum expensive? Your experience and budget in Tulum can vary greatly based on what you do and where you stay. You can do Tulum very cheaply, but you can also do Tulum very expensively. So if you stay a little bit further away from things and you stay at an Airbnb, not a hotel, so you stay at an Airbnb, you eat locally, you interact mostly with local shops, then you will be on the lower end of the spending spectrum. If you are by the beach where you're spending multiple hundreds of dollars a night, and beach resorts and you're spending multiple hundreds of dollars a night, upscale dining experiences, then all of that will run you a few days at the beach can run you over $1,000 or more. And sometimes multiple thousands depending on what you're doing, versus you can also spend that amount in a month or two on the other side. So it really depends on where you stay, what you do, and your daily activities and all that good stuff. That will determine how much money you spend. But remember, beachside, more expensive. Center and jungle side, less expensive. But on average in the center, you will spend approximately $15 to $20 a day on food. That's about how much I spent. And then transportation really depends on what your activities are and where you're going. Because I stayed in the center, in the beginning I was not really using transportation a lot because everything I needed was within reach or within a short walking distance. So I did not spend that much on transportation. So once I started venturing outside of Tulum, then that's when I started spending more. Once I went to Akumal, once I went to Coba, once I went to Playa del Carmen, then that's when I started spending more in transportation, because these are not in Tulum anymore. These are cities outside of Tulum. So if you're going outside of Tulum, or if you're going to the beach side a lot and you're taking taxis, it might run you up a bit. But ultimately, if you're staying in the center and you're doing everything in the center, then you're not really gonna spend that much in transportation. So I would say if you're planning to do a lot by the beach, stay at the beach, because that whole transportation back and forth to the city, it's just gonna add unnecessary amounts. So just stay at the beach, find a cheaper place. In the strip, it's like a strip basically. It's like a strip along the coast, and that's where almost everything is. Fancy restaurants, resorts, and all that. Boutiques and all that. All the famous places that you see in Tulum are usually in that strip, that beach, that coastal strip. So as far as accommodations, there are two types of accommodations you could do. You could do hotels, or you could do Airbnb. I'm a huge fan of Airbnb, so I typically do Airbnbs, and that's basically what I did my entire time I was there. I bounced from a few places, figuring out what is the best place for me, but ultimately Airbnb for me is always the way to go, because you are amongst locals. You have access to like a house or an apartment. So should you because when I travel, I do long-term stays. So because of that, it makes more sense for me to do an Airbnb than for me to be paying for a hotel hundreds of dollars every day, versus if I'm gonna be there for 3 weeks minimum, it would not make sense. But ultimately, you can do hotels, you can do Airbnb. Airbnbs are more affordable, and then the hotels are more expensive. Transportation, so there are a few modes of transportation in Tulum. One of them is as far as like how you could get to places, you could walk. If you are centrally located, everything is gonna be within reach. You can walk, you can use your bike. A lot of people bike from the center to the beach. It's approximately 20 minutes of biking. During the hot sun in the summer, it's not fun. So you could bike, you could take a what do you call it, a collective taxi. They call it taxi colectivo, where a bunch of people, it's like a minivan that has a bunch of people going to the same direction, so you all split the cost amongst yourselves. So you could do that. They have some of them that go from the center to the beach, but usually you'll find them going from Tulum to other cities like Akumal, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, and you could take an actual taxi that is just going to be yours. You're not sharing it with anyone, and then that can take you from the different places. and you could rent a car. That is my favorite. I rented a car while I was there. It takes you everywhere. You don't need a lot. You don't need too many documents. You only need a driver's license and a credit card, basically. And most places will not charge you that much. So on average, it's about 15 to 25 per day with insurance, depending on the rental company. And should there be any sort of like scratches or anything, the type of insurance that you get, depending on the type of insurance that you get, that will cover it. So I had full coverage insurance, so regardless of what happens to the car, like I would not be spending anything out of pocket. And with that, I ended up paying approximately $20 per day for my car rental, and with a $75 deposit that they held on my credit card. And also, if you want to go, there's buses, like really big buses, the auto bus, that can take you to major cities as well. So these are like the further distances. You could take the big buses for those. So there are auto bus stations. There is one in Tulum that you just go there. It will take you to different to other parts of Mexico. So food, depending on how long you're there in Mexico, you could go grocery shopping. There is a Walmart. There is a Walmart. There is another major grocery shopping store that's called Shidrari, and I'm probably butchering it. I'll have to look it up. But it's set up basically like a major US grocery store and department store in one. So anything you might need, from hair product to avocado, you'll be able to find it in there as well. You could eat locally. So there is a lot of taquerias, where places that mainly offers finger food like tacos, but they don't necessarily make actual sit-in dinings. So there's taquerias and mezcals. So mezcal is a drink that they make. It is alcoholic, but it doesn't really hit you like tequila does. And you don't really get a hangover from it as well. I did have a few mezcal drink. I don't really care for it. I'm like, you know, if I'm gonna drink, just hit me up with the tequila. Because the margaritas are really cheap in Mexico, yo. Really cheap. Like I was spending, I think the lowest I spent on a margarita was $1. Like $1 margarita. Where have you had a $1 margarita before? Let me know, because they don't have them in Florida. So the lowest I spent on a margarita was $1, but on average margaritas were like $5 in the city. But once you go to the beach, they're like $20, like straight USA prices of like, bruh, just have the margaritas in the center. Just have it in the center. But yeah, so margaritas can vary from $1 to $30 depending on where you have it. Eat from street vendors. You could have your street tacos. You could go to like the little mom and pop little tiny restaurants. They have the taquerias and the mezcals. And then you could eat at like locally owned restaurants as well. I had a few of those. My favorite was Mil Amores. I ate there a lot. So they knew me. For 2 months, they knew me by heart. So every time I come, it's like, oh, you know, like, bienvenida, señorita. They know me because homegirl was here every day or every other day. Even though I was still trying new places. But once you find a spot that you like, you're like, all right, I'ma still come here, even though I was trying out new folks. That is more like mid-range dining. For upscale dining, you are going to be eating by the beach. That's where most of the upscale restaurants are, and your bill may vary from $60 to $400 depending on what you order per person. So depending on what you order, so if you're really balling out, you're ordering drinks, you're ordering appetizers, you're ordering water because water is not free, you are ordering dessert, and you're ordering steak and all that, be ready for a hefty bill. That is the upscale restaurants. These are your taboos, your Bach, your Rosa Negra, so they will run you pretty high. So that is basically it on the food. There are many great restaurants. There's some trash ones as well, but I will link down my favorite ones in the description bar below. That's basically it. So should you guys have any questions, definitely put it down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer anything that I might have not covered in this video. I wanted to keep it at a decent length. So should you have a question that you felt like I did not answer in the video, definitely ask it in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer it. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Definitely check out the other videos, which is going to be my experience spending 2 months in Tulum and my Temazcal experience as well. I really appreciate you taking your time to view it all. So I hope to catch you next time. Bye.